AI is about to flood the world with new drugs, and almost all of them are shots you have to inject. So the company that wins biggest might not make a single one of those drugs. It just keeps every shot sterile. A flood of new medicines is coming. Almost all of it has to be injected. And by the end of this, you'll be able to name the overlooked winner nobody's watching, the layer that gets paid on every shot, whatever the drug turns out to be. Start with why the flood is coming. For decades, designing a new drug meant guessing at molecules and testing them for years. Then AI learned to do it. In 2024, David Baker shared half the Nobel Prize in chemistry for teaching computers to design proteins from scratch, and his lab put the tools online, free, for anyone to use. Those tools don't just predict a molecule, they invent one that binds a target on purpose. The same lab's RF Peptides designed brand new peptide drugs against real disease targets, and when they X-rayed the results, the molecules folded almost exactly the way the computer drew them. Design, not luck. And the money is following the method. Isomorphic Labs, the DeepMind spinout, raised $2.1 billion in a single round to design drugs this way, and expects its first AI-designed candidates in human trials by the end of the year. Another lab, Chai, now designs new antibodies in a plastic dish the size of your palm, a 24-well plate, and gets a real hit in weeks, not years. Put it together. The cost of inventing a new drug is collapsing, so the number of new drugs is about to explode. But here's the part almost nobody thinks about. What shape do all these new drugs arrive in? Almost all of them are peptides, and peptides have to be injected. To see why, you have to know what a peptide is. It's a short chain of amino acids, the tiny beads life uses to build proteins, strung in one exact order. Think of a paper origami crane. The shape is everything, and the shape is delicate. Now try to swallow it. Your gut is built to take chains exactly like this apart for lunch. It's how you digest a steak. Stomach acid and gut enzymes shred the crane before it ever reaches your blood. That's why, if you swallow a peptide, only about 1 to 2% survives. So the default, for almost every new AI-designed peptide, is a needle. And here's the rule that makes the whole business. A needle skips your skin and gut and puts liquid straight into tissue, where one stray bacterium can start a serious infection. So by law, an injection has to be sterile, not few living microbes, 0. A swallowed pill passes through stomach acid first, so it faces a far lower bar. Same medicine, different rulebook, decided purely by how it gets in. But you can't sterilize a peptide the normal way. Heat or radiation, the usual germ killers, would unfold the origami and destroy the drug. So how do you make a liquid germ-free without cooking it? You strain it. The drug is pushed through a membrane with holes 0.2 microns wide, about 1/400th the width of a human hair, too small for any bacterium. Picture a coffee filter so absurdly fine that the grounds it catches are the germs. That filter is just the first layer. Now you have sterile liquid, but you still have to pour it into vials and syringes without a single germ falling in, and you can't heat it afterward. That would cook the peptide. So the filling machine lives inside an isolator. Think of a sealed glove box. A clean room in a box, like an aquarium you only reach into through built-in gloves. Before every batch, the whole box is fogged with vaporized hydrogen peroxide that kills everything, then breaks down to water and oxygen. Then there's the needle itself. The pen, the syringe, the vial, the actual device that carries the shot, has to be sterilized too. And unlike the drug, that hardware can take a blast of radiation or gas. That's a whole separate industry, contract device sterilization, that zaps the medical hardware behind the shot. And even a germ-free batch can still hold endotoxins, poison fragments shed by dead bacteria that survive the filter and cause fever if injected. So every injectable batch gets swabbed at the door. 2 fresh tests, nothing alive and no leftover toxin. Yesterday's pass doesn't clear today's batch. Step back and look at what we just built. Around every single injectable drug sits the same stack of specialist layers. Filter it, fill it in a fogged box, sterilize the device, inspect the batch. It doesn't matter what the drug is or what disease it treats. If it goes in through a needle, it pays this toll. Here's where the obvious answer is wrong. When a drug boom hits, everyone watches the drug. Which molecule? Which company? Which disease? Nobody watches the boring layer underneath. But that layer is where the money quietly pools, because it doesn't care which drug wins. Start with the strongest example. Sterilization. 2 companies, Sotera Health, which runs Sterigenics, and STERIS, sterilize a huge share of the medical devices in the entire country, roughly 85% of contract sterilization between them. They don't care whether the shot inside is a cancer drug, a vaccine, or the newest AI-designed peptide. Every sterile device that ships crosses their line. The AI drug flood just means more devices, more shots, more toll. And sterilization is just the front of a whole hidden infrastructure that taxes every shot. The sterile filter that strains the drug, Sartorius, Repligen. The fogged glove box that fills it, SKAN. The rubber seal that caps every vial, West. The lab that inspects every batch for toxins, Charles River. None of them make a drug. All of them get paid on the flood, whatever the flood turns out to be. Think of them as toll bridges. One restaurant closing on the far side barely dents the traffic across the bridge. Now the honest counter. The one thing that could break this. A drug can escape the needle. Orforglipron, a new weight loss pill, hits the same target as Ozempic, but isn't a peptide at all. It's a tough little marble of ordinary chemistry that survives your stomach, so you can swallow it. It needs none of the sterile stack. But it's the rare engineered exception, a non-peptide small molecule. Almost everything AI is designing is still a fragile peptide crane, so the needle and the toll on it mostly stays. So here's where this goes next. Our call. Over the next 2 to 4 years, as AI-designed drugs move from the lab toward the clinic, the flood is overwhelmingly injectable. So the overlooked winner is the keep-it-sterile layer, paid on the whole boom regardless of which drug wins. The shape is clear. The pace is the open question. I'd put this around 65%. Here's the basis, named Device Sterilization, Sotera, which runs Sterigenics, and STERIS, sterilizes the hardware behind roughly 85% of contract sterilized medtech. It's paid whatever the drug is. Sterile filtration, Sartorius and Repligen, strains every injectable biologic, a base driven by antibodies, not one pill. Aseptic isolators, SKAN, because every injectable batch is still filled in a fogged box. Elastomer seals, West, the rubber cap on every injectable vial. And batch release QC, Charles River, the inspector every injectable batch must pass. Not one of them makes a drug. All of them ride the flood. And the falsifier, the thing that would kill this call. Say the AI wave skews oral instead of injectable. Say more drugs come out like orforglipron, non-peptide pills you can swallow, that skip the sterile chain entirely. Then injectable volume stalls, and the toll thins. 2 honest caveats to hold with it. A peptide can be engineered to be swallowed. Ribelsis already is. And the AI-designed drugs are mostly still preclinical. The flood is coming, not here. We'll know over the next few years whether the flood arrives as needles or as pills. Either way, everyone will be arguing about which drug wins. And they'll all be looking at the wrong thing. Because nobody's watching the companies that keep every shot sterile.